Welcome to this class. Now, in this class, we will look at how to join tables. In the last class, we were trying to see, to just have a general overview about joining tables. But in this class, we'll actually put it into practice. So now, if you go to this, there is this folder called the GitHub repos, right? And when you look at this folder, you see a couple of data sets that is in the folder. Now, you see the sample repos, you see the sample files, and basically you have like the schema. So the schema allows you to have a view of what the field names that are, available in this data set. So for instance, you have the sample repo, it has like the repo name and then the watch count. Now, when you look at this sample files, you notice that it also has the repo name, it has the ref path and mode and all this kind of thing. So basically, it's also very important to see if you can get any kind of information about the data set that allows you to basically understand the data set before you actually do some kind of join. If you do not have enough information, you can also do your own analysis just before you join because it's very important. Now, first you see the description, it said it's a sample file metadata for files at head from the top 400 repository in the sample repo. Okay, good, nice one. Now, we will still go ahead and maybe just continue, reviewing the folder. So also we have the sample content. Now, the sample content is also like having some schema and it's basically arranged in a certain type of way. Now, one thing I think I have, gotten a bit from this, this table so far, it seems like, so most of the files are actually coming from the sample files, right? So basically like this looks like the most granular data. Now, I know that this might not make sense to you at this level, but I will basically explain myself in the future classes, maybe in the much more intermediate classes. So first, now you could see all these tables are having like different, they're having like different stuffs here, right? So let's just see. Now, when you look at the preview of this table, for instance, so you have a table with license and the schema has the repo name and it has the license, right? So there's one very important thing you want to see. So we want to join this license table to maybe say this sample repo. Why? Because we see that there is a common field. So it seems like this idea of this table is to have the watch count per repo name. So when you see it, maybe the preview, it has like different repo names. And then you're trying to see, okay, so what is the watch count for each repo name, for instance? Now, this kind of makes sense. Also, when you come to the licenses, you maybe see that, okay, so this is also showing like what is the the license for different say like repo names, right? So you're seeing like the license for different repo names. Now, before you join these two tables, like basically what we are trying to do is we're trying to extend the table. So first we want a new table that has the repo name, the license, and then the watch count. So we will join the repo name. We're going to join the two tables, the license table and then the sample repo on the repo name. And then this will basically allow us to have like a full, data set that has like, this repo name. Now, first things first you want to do for your analysis, right, is you want to see, because then you want to know, you want to have an idea of how to join the table. You do not want to join the table and cause some kind of problems by maybe like joining incorrectly. So one thing we could first do is do a little bit of analysis on the table, and then this will inform the kind of join that we will use. So first we query the first table, which is the sample repo. Now, what are we trying to figure out here? Now, for instance, because we're joining on the repo name, we want to see if for any reason it's likely that we have the same number of repo and with the other table. So, like when we come to the license table, for instance, we see that this license table seems to have like 3 million rows. So it's either maybe you have like double, maybe you have like double, you have like some kind of duplicate of repo names. Maybe a repo name could have like multiple licenses, for instance. And maybe this is the reason why you have like this number, because when you compare the number of rows here and when you see the number of rows here, it seems like it's kind of different. So here it's like you're having like 400,000, but here now you have like 3 million rows. So basically, you want to know exactly what is the difference, what constitutes between this difference. It gives you an idea of what you're looking at, and so that you would know how to join this table. For every kind of use case that you want to use, then you have an idea of how to join the table. So now, one thing we could do as an analysis is to just count the distinct repo name, right? So we count the distinct repo name, which basically tells us what is the number of, distinct repo underscore name. So when we run this query now, we see that we have exactly 400,000 sample repos. And basically, this confirms that there is no duplicate repo in this table. So there is no duplicate repo. So you have just one repo and then the watch count. So on this part, we kind of understand that. So now we have to do the same analysis for this table. So when we query this table, now we have an idea of, we're saying like, okay, what is the distinct repo name, for instance, now. So we see that the distinct repo name, for instance, is also like 3 million rows. So this basically tells us a very, very interesting thing. What is this thing telling us? It tells us that this license table has more repo names than this sample repos table. So basically, if we were to join the two tables, then we have to be sure on what exactly we're trying to achieve before we join the tables, right? So another thing this tells us, it tells us that the license, because the license table has more rows, maybe what it means is that maybe not all repo names have a watch count. So this means that for the ones that don't have a watch count, maybe they're not featured on this table, for instance. It's just an assumption. This is how we build analysis. We build analysis from, curiosity and, assumptions. And then we just basically go ahead and check them, right? So we will now go ahead and see how, we could basically join this table. So first things first, we want to understand, what are we trying to achieve when we want to join this table? So for instance, if we want to, now, we have been able to build the idea that the license table has much more rows than the sample table. So, an assumption that we have also maybe threw up in the air is that maybe not all repo names has, a watch count, and maybe this is the reason why we have this discrepancy. So, we will basically, try our hands on different types of joins, for different use cases, of course, in the next classes. So basically, this will be, an opportunity to demonstrate what we have learned in this class. So I'll see you in the next one. Thank you.